Danny Cole had never been good with words. He was an engineer, a man who understood machines and systems, and the quiet logic of how things worked. He fixed broken engines. He rewired power grids. He did not attend diplomatic meetings with alien species. Yet here he was, standing in the welcoming hall of Helix 9, wearing a dress uniform that felt too tight around his collar, trying very hard not to look as terrified as he felt. The space station floated in neutral territory, far from Earth, and even farther from the Volanthi homeworld. It was meant to be a place of peace, a meeting point where different species could talk without the weight of borders and old conflicts. Humanity had only joined the galactic community 3 years ago, and they were still considered the new arrivals, the young species, the ones who had not yet proven themselves. Captain Laura Bennett stood at the front of the human delegation, her posture perfect, her face calm. She had done this before. She knew how to smile at aliens and speak in careful, measured sentences. Danny did not. He was only here because Greg, the usual technical assistant, had eaten something bad at dinner and was currently lying in the medical bay, turning an interesting shade of green. "Just stand there and look professional," Captain Bennett had told him. "You don't have to say anything. Just don't embarrass us." Danny had nodded. He could do that. Standing was easy. Silence was his specialty. The doors at the far end of the hall slid open with a soft hiss, and the Volanthi delegation entered. Danny had seen pictures of the Volanthi before, but pictures did not prepare him for the real thing. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with bodies that moved like water flowing over rocks. Their skin was a pale, silvery blue, smooth and almost glowing, but the most remarkable thing about them was the light. Bioluminescent patterns covered their skin, swirling lines and dots that pulsed gently with soft colors. Danny had read that these patterns changed with their emotions, that the Volanthi could not hide what they felt because their bodies would always give them away. There were 5 of them, walking in a formal line. 4 were clearly guards or advisors, their lights dim and steady. But the one in the center was different. She was smaller than the others, though still taller than any human in the room. Her patterns were delicate, like frost on a window, tracing paths across her cheeks and down her neck. Her eyes were large and dark, and they moved across the room with open curiosity. Danny forgot to breathe. She was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen in his entire life. Not beautiful like a human woman was beautiful. Something else, entirely. Something that made his chest feel tight and his thoughts scatter like startled birds. "She's gorgeous," he whispered. He did not mean to say it out loud. The words simply escaped, quiet and honest, and completely unplanned. In a room full of humans, no one would have heard him. But the Volanthi were not human. The alien woman stopped walking. Her head turned toward him, those dark eyes finding him in the crowd. The patterns on her skin, which had been a soft blue, suddenly flushed to a deep violet. The color spread across her cheeks like a blush, bright and unmistakable. The other Volanthi stopped too. The entire room went silent. Danny felt his heart drop into his stomach. He wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. He wanted to turn invisible. He wanted to be anywhere else in the entire universe. But instead of looking angry or offended, the alien woman did something unexpected. She walked toward him. Her steps were slow and graceful, and with each step, the violet in her skin grew brighter. She stopped directly in front of him, so close that he could see the way her patterns pulsed with her heartbeat. "Repeat it again, human," she said. Her voice was soft, musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. There was no anger in it, only something that sounded almost like wonder. Danny's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked to Captain Bennett for help, but the captain looked just as stunned as everyone else. I'm sorry," Danny managed. "I didn't mean to offend you. I was just—" "You called me gorgeous," she said. The word sounded strange on her tongue, like she was testing its shape. "This is a word of beauty, yes? A compliment?" "Yes," Danny said. His voice cracked slightly. It means you're very beautiful." The violet in her skin flared even brighter. For a moment, she looked like a star about to burst. Then she smiled, and the expression transformed her entire face. "No one has ever said such a thing to me before," she said quietly. "Among my people, we do not speak of appearances. It is considered too intimate, too personal." Danny did not know what to say. He was vaguely aware that every single person in the room was staring at them, that this was probably some kind of diplomatic disaster, that he had somehow managed to do the one thing Captain Bennett had asked him not to do. "I am Velkira Suneth," the alien woman said. "I am the diplomatic voice of the Valanthe Collective for these talks." "Danny," he said. "Danny Cole. I'm just an engineer. Just an engineer," she repeated, tilting her head. The gesture was oddly bird-like and entirely charming. "And yet, you speak words that my own people would never dare to say." She turned to look at Captain Bennett, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the formal tone of diplomacy. "Captain, I have a request. I would like this human to serve as my liaison during our negotiations. He has already shown me more honesty in one moment than I have received in many years of formal meetings." Captain Bennett blinked. Then she looked at Danny with an expression that clearly said they would be having a very long conversation later. "Of course," the captain said smoothly. "We would be honored." Velkira turned back to Danny. Her patterns had settled into a warm purple glow. "Gentle and steady. I look forward to learning more about your people, Danny Cole," she said. "And perhaps you will say that word to me again sometime." She walked past him to join the formal greeting, leaving Danny standing frozen in place, his heart pounding, his face burning, and his mind trying desperately to understand what had just happened. Behind him, he heard one of his crewmates whisper, "Did he just accidentally flirt his way into a diplomatic position?" Danny closed his eyes and wished, not for the first time, that he had simply stayed in the engine room where he belonged. But somewhere deep inside, beneath the panic and the embarrassment, a small voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was exactly where he was supposed to be. The next 3 days were the strangest of Danny's life. He had expected the diplomatic talks to be boring. Long meetings in gray rooms, people speaking in careful circles. Documents passed back and forth. And there was certainly plenty of that. But Danny spent most of his time not in the meeting halls, but in the quieter spaces of Helix 9, walking beside Velkira as she asked him question after question about humanity. She wanted to know everything. How humans greeted each other. Why they shook hands. What it meant when someone smiled. She asked about human food and human music and human art. She asked about families and friendships and the strange way humans touched each other so casually. A hand on a shoulder. A pat on the back. But most of all, she asked about love. "Your species writes songs about it," she said one evening, as they stood on the observation deck of the Wanderer. Stars filled the window before them, endless points of light scattered across the black. "You create stories and paintings and poems. You build your entire lives around this feeling." Why? Danny thought about it. He had never really considered the question before. Love was just something humans did. Like breathing or eating. It was part of being alive. "I guess because it makes us feel less alone," he said finally. "The universe is big and scary, and we're small. But when you love someone, when someone loves you back, it feels like you have a place. Like you matter." Velkira's patterns shifted to a soft gold. Danny had started to learn her colors over the past few days. Blue meant calm. Purple meant interest or excitement. Gold meant something warm, something close to happiness. "Among my people, bonds are formed through logic," she said. "We choose partners based on genetic compatibility, social standing, the needs of our families. Emotion is considered unreliable, dangerous, even." "That sounds lonely," Danny said before he could stop himself. She turned to look at him, and for a moment, her lights flickered. "It is," she admitted quietly. "I have never spoken these words to anyone. But yes, it is very lonely." They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. Danny wanted to say something comforting, but he did not know what. He was just an engineer. He fixed machines. He did not know how to fix the sadness he saw in her eyes. Can I ask you something? Valkyra said. Of course. When you called me gorgeous, in the welcoming hall, did you mean it? Or was it simply a reaction? A noise without thought? Danny felt his face grow warm. He had been hoping she would forget about that moment, or at least stop bringing it up. But she seemed unable to let it go. I meant it, he said. You're the most beautiful person I've ever seen. I know that probably sounds strange, since we're different species and everything. But it's true. Her patterns flared violet again, that deep blush spreading across her skin. She looked away, and Danny realized that she was embarrassed. The mighty Valanthe diplomat, representative of an ancient spacefaring civilization, was embarrassed because a human engineer had called her pretty. Among my people, she said softly, I am considered dim. Danny frowned. What do you mean? She gestured at the patterns on her skin. My bioluminescence. It has always been faint compared to others. When I was young, the other children would mock me for it. They said I was half dark, barely there. Even now, in formal settings, I am often overlooked. My lights do not command attention the way others do. Danny stared at her. The idea seemed impossible. Her patterns were beautiful, delicate and intricate, like artwork drawn in light. How could anyone think she was dim? That's ridiculous, he said. You're stunning. You literally glow. How is that not enough? She laughed, a sound like bells ringing. You say these things so easily, as if they cost you nothing. They don't cost me anything. They're just true. Valkyra turned to face him fully. Her eyes searched his face, looking for something. Lies. Maybe. Or mockery. But Danny had never been good at hiding what he felt. His face was an open book, and right now, it was showing nothing but honest admiration. You are very strange, Danny Cole, she said. I've been told that before. I think I like it. She reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool, smooth like polished stone, and where her fingers touched his, he could feel a faint tingling, like static electricity. Her patterns pulsed brighter at the contact, warm purple spreading up her arm. Among my people, touch is reserved for family and bonded partners, she said. To touch a stranger is considered deeply improper. Danny started to pull his hand back, but she held on. I did not say I wanted you to stop, she said. They stood there, hand in hand, watching the stars. Danny's heart was beating so fast he was sure she could hear it. He was holding hands with an alien diplomat, a beautiful, glowing alien diplomat who had chosen him, of all people, to be her guide to humanity. Tell me about human courting rituals, Valkyra said. What? How do humans show interest in each other? How do they begin relationships? Danny's mind went blank. Well, there's dating, where two people spend time together, getting to know each other. They might share meals or watch entertainment, or just talk. We are doing that now, Valkyra observed. I guess we are. What else? Sometimes people give each other gifts. Flowers are traditional, though I'm not sure if you have those on your world. And there's compliments. Telling someone they look nice, or that you enjoy their company. You have given me compliments, Valkyra said. Many of them. Danny swallowed hard. I have. And what comes after these things? After the time together, and the gifts, and the compliments? Usually people talk about their feelings. They tell each other how they feel. And if both people feel the same way, they become a couple. Partners. Valkyra was quiet for a moment. Her patterns shifted through several colors, too fast for Danny to read. Finally, they settled on a deep, warm purple that seemed to glow from within. Danny, she said, I believe I am experiencing what your people call a crush. Danny forgot how to breathe. On me, he managed. On you. But you barely know me, and I'm just a human. I'm nobody special. She smiled, and her whole face lit up, literally glowing brighter than he had ever seen her. You are the first person in my entire life who has told me I am beautiful and meant it, she said. You are the first person who has touched my hand without obligation. You are the first person who has looked at me and seen something worth looking at. To me, Danny Cole, you are very special indeed." Danny did not know what to say, so he did the only thing that felt right. He squeezed her hand gently and smiled back at her. "I think I might have a crush on you too," he said. Her patterns exploded into brilliant light, so bright that for a moment she looked like a small sun. Then she laughed, covering her face with her free hand. "I have never glowed this brightly before," she said. "You are going to be very bad for my dignity." "Sorry," Danny said, though he was not sorry at all. "Do not apologize," she said. "I have spent my whole life wishing I could shine like others. And now, because of you, I finally can." She looked at him with those dark, endless eyes. And Danny knew in that moment that his life would never be the same. He was falling in love with an alien, and somehow, impossibly, she was falling for him too. The trouble began on the 5th day. Danny was in the station's common area, waiting for Valkyra to finish her morning meetings, when he noticed the whispers. A group of Valanthi stood near the water dispensers, their lights flickering in rapid patterns as they spoke in their own language. They kept glancing in his direction, and their expressions were not friendly. He tried to ignore it. He was a stranger here, an outsider. Of course people would talk, but then the doors opened, and everything changed. The Valanthi who entered was massive, even by their species standards. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, his shoulders broad, his jaw set in a hard line. His bioluminescent patterns were bold and bright, commanding immediate attention. Unlike Valkyra's delicate frost-like designs, his looked like lightning strikes frozen across his skin. He scanned the room until his eyes landed on Danny. Then he walked forward with the kind of purpose that made everyone else step aside. "You are the human," he said. It was not a question. Danny stood up slowly. "I'm Danny Cole. Can I help you? I am Ren Tovar, commander of the Valanthi military delegation." He paused, letting the title sink in. "And I am Valkyra's brother." Danny felt his stomach tighten. He had heard Valkyra mention her brother once, briefly, with a tone that suggested their relationship was complicated. Now, standing face to face with the man, Danny understood why. "It's nice to meet you," Danny said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Is it?" Ren's patterns flickered with something cold, something close to contempt. "I have heard interesting reports, human. They say my sister has been spending much time with you. They say her patterns have been behaving strangely, brighter than anyone has seen before." "We've been talking," Danny said carefully. "She wanted to learn about human culture. Is that what you call it?" Ren stepped closer, using his height to loom over Danny. "Among our people, when someone's patterns change for another, it means something. Something serious. Something that should not happen with an outsider." Danny did not back down. He had spent his whole life being underestimated, overlooked, dismissed. He was not going to let this alien bully him, no matter how tall he was. "I haven't done anything wrong," Danny said. "I've been honest with her. That's all. Honest." Ren made the word sound like a curse. "You humans and your emotions. You wear your feelings on your faces and expect everyone to trust you. But I have studied your species. I know how you manipulate others with words and touches and false promises. I haven't made any false promises. Then let me make something clear. Human." Ren leaned down until his face was inches from Danny's. "My sister is vulnerable. She has always been different from others, always struggled to fit in. And now you appear with your compliments and your soft words, and suddenly she glows like she never has before. Do you understand how that looks to me?" "It looks like she's happy," Danny said quietly. Ren's patterns flared with anger. For a moment, Danny thought the commander might actually hit him. But then a voice cut through the tension. "Ren, that is enough." Valkyra stood in the doorway, her own patterns pulsing with a mixture of colors. Anger, embarrassment, and beneath it all, that warm purple that Danny had come to recognize as affection. "Sister," Ren said, straightening. "We need to talk." "Yes, we do," But not here, and not like this. She walked to Danny's side and placed her hand on his arm. The gesture was deliberate, a clear message to everyone watching. You are embarrassing yourself. And our family. I am protecting you, Ren said. These humans cannot be trusted. Their entire species runs on emotion. They make decisions based on feelings, not logic. They are unstable. They are different. Valkyra corrected. Different is not the same as dangerous. The Council agrees with me, Ren said. There is a faction that opposes this alliance. They believe humans will contaminate our culture with their chaos. And when they see you glowing for this engineer, they will use it as proof. Valkyra's patterns flickered. Danny could see the conflict in her. The pull between duty and something else. Something new. What happens between me and Danny is not the Council's concern, she said. Everything you do is the Council's concern. You are a diplomat. You represent our people. And right now, you are making us look weak. Ren turned to Danny one last time. Stay away from my sister. Human. For both your sakes. He left without another word, his heavy footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Valkyra stood very still, her hand still on Danny's arm. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. I am sorry. My brother is protective. He has always been this way. It's okay, Danny said, though it was not really okay. He is worried about what others will think. That is not the same thing. She looked at him, and her eyes were sad. Danny, I need to tell you something. Something I should have explained before. They walked together to the observation deck. Their usual spot. The stars were waiting. Patient and eternal. Valkyra stood at the window. Her patterns dim and troubled. Among my people, when our lights respond to someone, it is called a resonance bond, she said. It is rare. It means that our biology has recognized someone as a potential life partner. It is not something we can control. Danny felt his heart skip. And your lights, they respond to me? They have since the moment you called me gorgeous. She turned to face him. I have tried to dim them. I have tried to hide it. But I cannot. My body has chosen you, Danny, and that terrifies me. Why? Because resonance bonds are sacred. They are supposed to happen between Valanthi. For one to form with an alien, with a human. It has never happened before. It means either my biology is broken, or... She paused, struggling with the words. Or what? Or you are my true match. Despite everything. Despite the fact that we come from different worlds, different species, different everything. Her patterns pulsed with that deep purple again. My brother thinks you are manipulating me. The Council will think I have lost my mind. But when I am with you, Danny, I feel something I have never felt before. I feel seen. I feel bright. I feel like maybe I am not dim after all. Danny reached out and took her hand, her fingers wrapped around his, cool and familiar now. I don't know anything about resonance bonds or Valanthi politics, he said. But I know how I feel. When I'm with you, everything else disappears. The fear, the doubt, all of it. You make me feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. She smiled, and her patterns warmed. We are going to cause so much trouble, she said. Probably, Danny agreed. The Council will demand answers. My brother will make your life difficult. There will be hearings and questions and people who want to tear us apart. I know. And you still want to try? Even knowing all of that? Danny squeezed her hand. Valkyra, you're the most amazing person I've ever met. Human or otherwise. If causing trouble is the price for being with you, then I'll cause all the trouble in the galaxy. She laughed, bright and surprised, and for a moment, her glow was so strong that it lit up the entire observation deck. You really are strange, Danny Cole, she said. Is that a bad thing? No, she said softly, leaning her forehead against his. It is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Outside the window, The stars continued their eternal dance, uncaring of the small drama unfolding before them. But for Danny and Valkyra, in that moment, the whole universe felt brand new. The Grand Assembly Chamber was enormous. It rose in circular tiers. Hundreds of seats filled with Volanthi representatives. Their bioluminescent patterns, creating a sea of shifting colors. At the center was a raised platform where the speakers would stand, exposed and visible from every angle. Danny had never felt so small in his entire life. The challenge had come that morning. A faction within the Volanthi collective, led by a sharp-faced elder named Counselor Davith, had formally questioned humanity's fitness for alliance. They cited humans as emotionally unstable, driven by feelings rather than logic, dangerous in their unpredictability. And they had pointed to Valkyra's behavior as evidence. Your diplomat has been compromised by human emotional manipulation, Davith had declared. Her resonance bond with this alien proves that humans are a threat to our cultural integrity. Captain Bennett had tried to defend the alliance, but the faction demanded more. They invoked an ancient Volanthi tradition called the Trial of Discourse, where a representative must stand before the assembly and defend their position through words alone, no violence, no tricks, just truth, laid bare for all to judge. Captain Bennett had been ready to speak. She had prepared notes, arguments, careful diplomatic language. But then Valkyra had done something unexpected. "I request that Danny Cole speak for humanity," she had said. The chamber had erupted. Wren had objected loudly. Captain Bennett had looked shocked. But Valkyra had stood firm. "This human has shown me more about his species in 1 week than years of formal reports ever could," she said. "If you want to understand humans, let one speak for himself. Let him show you what they truly are." And so Danny found himself standing on the central platform, surrounded by hundreds of alien faces, about to defend his entire species with nothing but his words. Counselor Davith rose from his seat. His patterns were cold blue, controlled and sharp. "Human," he said, "you stand accused of emotional manipulation. Your species is accused of being slaves to feeling, incapable of rational thought. What do you say?" Danny took a deep breath. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. Every instinct told him to run, to hide, to let someone smarter handle this. But then he looked at Valkyra. She sat in the front row, her patterns glowing that warm purple, her eyes full of faith. She believed in him. She had chosen him to speak. He would not let her down. "You're right," Danny said. The chamber went quiet. Even Davith looked surprised. "You're right that humans feel things strongly," Danny continued. "We get angry. We get scared. We fall in love with people we probably shouldn't. We make decisions based on our hearts as much as our heads. By your standards, maybe that does make us unstable." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "But here's the thing about emotions. They're not weaknesses. They're what make us strong." Davith's patterns flickered with skepticism. "Explain." "Every great thing humanity has ever done came from emotion. We crossed oceans because we were curious. We built cities because we wanted to create something beautiful. We fought against tyranny because we were angry at injustice. We went to the stars because we refused to accept that the universe was too big for us." Danny stepped forward, his voice growing stronger. "Fear tells us when something is dangerous. Anger tells us when something is wrong. Love tells us what's worth protecting. Without those feelings, we would just be machines, calculating odds and optimizing outcomes. We would survive, but we wouldn't live." A murmur ran through the assembly. Some of the Volanthi leaned forward, their patterns shifting with interest. "You say we are unstable," Danny said. "Maybe. But do you know what else we are? We are brave. We are loyal. We will walk through fire for the people we love. We will stand up against impossible odds because giving up feels worse than dying." He looked at Counselor Davith directly. "You're afraid of us. I understand that. We're loud and messy and we feel everything too much. But we're not your enemies. We don't want to change you or control you. We just want to stand beside you, as friends, as allies. And if you give us that chance, we will give you everything we have. Our creativity, our passion, our stubborn refusal to quit. David was silent for a moment. Then he asked, "And what of the resonance bond? You have formed a connection with one of our diplomats. Is this not evidence of manipulation?" Danny felt his face grow warm, but he did not look away. "I didn't manipulate anyone. I told a beautiful woman that she was beautiful. Where I come from, that's not a trick. It's just the truth." He turned to look at Valkyra. Her patterns were blazing now, brighter than he had ever seen them, lighting up the entire front row. "She told me that among your people, no one had ever called her beautiful before. That she spent her whole life feeling dim, feeling like she wasn't enough. And that breaks my heart. Because she is extraordinary. She is kind, and curious, and brave. She asked me questions that no one else thought to ask. She looked at a clumsy human engineer and saw something worth knowing." His voice cracked slightly, but he kept going. "If loving her is a crime, then I'm guilty. If making her feel seen is manipulation, then yes, I manipulated her. But I won't apologize for it. Everyone deserves to know that they matter. Everyone deserves to hear that they're beautiful. And if your culture doesn't allow for that, then maybe that's the real problem here." The chamber was completely silent. Danny could feel hundreds of eyes on him, judging, weighing, deciding. Then something unexpected happened. One of the Valanthi in the middle tiers began to glow brighter. Then another, and another. Their patterns shifted to warm colors, purples and golds, spreading through the chamber like sunrise across a dark sky. Danny did not understand what was happening, but Valkyra did. She rose to her feet, her own light brilliant and proud. "The assembly responds," she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "They feel the truth in his words. This is not something that can be faked or manipulated. This is resonance. Pure and honest." Counselor David looked around at his fellow Valanthi. Even some of his own faction were glowing, their controlled patterns giving way to something warmer. "It seems," David said slowly, "that your words have moved the assembly, human." "I just told the truth," Danny said. "That's all I know how to do." David studied him for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, his own patterns softened slightly. "You are not what I expected," he said. "I came here believing humans to be dangerous. I still believe that your emotions can lead to destruction. But I see now that they can also lead to other things." He turned to address the full assembly. "I withdraw my challenge. I am not yet convinced that alliance with humanity is wise, but I am no longer certain that it is foolish. Let the negotiations continue." A wave of relief washed over Danny. His legs felt weak. He wanted to sit down very badly. But before he could move, Valkyra was there. She walked onto the platform and took his hand, right there in front of everyone. Her patterns were so bright that they hurt to look at. "You did it," she whispered. "I just talked," he said. "I'm good at that, apparently." She laughed, and the sound echoed through the chamber, clear and joyful. Around them, the assembly began to disperse. Valanthi talking among themselves in hushed, wondering tones. Several of them glanced at Danny and Valkyra, their patterns warm with something that might have been approval. Ren approached them. His expression was unreadable, but his patterns had changed. The cold blue was gone, replaced by something softer. "Human," he said. "Commander," Danny replied. Ren was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded, just once. "You spoke well," he said. "Perhaps I misjudged you. It was not quite an apology, but it was close." Danny would take it. "Thank you," he said. Ren looked at his sister, still glowing like a small sun. Something shifted in his expression. Something that might have been acceptance. "Take care of her," he said to Danny, "or I will find you." "I will," Danny promised. Ren walked away without another word, but Danny thought he saw the ghost of a smile on the commander's face. Valkyra squeezed his hand. "You won," she said. "We won," Danny corrected. And standing there, in the heart of the alien assembly, surrounded by shifting lights and uncertain futures. Danny felt like maybe everything was going to be okay after all. 3 days after the trial, the vote was held. Danny stood with Captain Bennett and the rest of the human delegation in a waiting room near the assembly chamber. They had done everything they could. Now, it was up to the Valanthi to decide. "Whatever happens," Captain Bennett said, "you did good, Cole. Better than good. I've been doing diplomacy for 20 years, and I've never seen anything like what you did in there." "I just talked," Danny said. He had been saying that a lot lately. "You did more than talk. You showed them who we are. Not the scary version. Not the propaganda. Just us." She smiled. Messy emotions and all. The doors opened, and a Valanthi aide stepped inside. Her patterns were neutral, giving nothing away. "The vote is complete," she said. "The assembly requests the presence of the human delegation." They walked into the chamber together. It felt different now. Less hostile. Many of the Valanthi were glowing with warm colors, and when they saw Danny, several of them nodded in acknowledgement. Counselor Davith stood at the central platform. He waited until everyone was seated before speaking. "The Valanthi Collective has reached a decision regarding the proposed alliance with humanity," he said. His voice was formal, but his patterns were calm. "After much deliberation, and after witnessing testimony that challenged many of our assumptions, the Council has voted in favor." A wave of relief swept through the human delegation. Captain Bennett closed her eyes briefly, and Danny saw her shoulders relax. "This is not a full alliance," Davith continued. "It is a probationary partnership. We will work together, trade knowledge, and learn from each other. If, after a period of 5 cycles, both parties remain satisfied, the partnership will become permanent." He paused and looked directly at Danny. The human representative spoke of emotion as strength. "We do not fully understand this concept, but we are willing to learn. Perhaps there is wisdom in feeling that we have overlooked." Danny nodded. He did not trust himself to speak. Davith turned to address someone in the front row. "Velkira Sunath, please step forward." Velkira rose and walked to the platform. Her patterns were steady, controlled. But Danny could see the excitement beneath them. "In light of recent events," Davith said, "and in recognition of your unique understanding of human culture, the Council has made a decision. You are hereby appointed as the Valanthi ambassador to human space. You will accompany the human delegation back to their world and serve as our voice among them." Velkira's patterns flared with surprise. "Counselor, I am honored. But surely there are others more qualified." "There are others with more experience," Davith agreed. "But none who have formed a resonance bond with a human. None who understand them as you do. You are the bridge between our peoples, Velkira. Accept this responsibility." She bowed her head. "I accept." Danny felt his heart soar. She was coming with them. She was coming to Earth. After the formal ceremonies were complete, the human delegation returned to the Wanderer to prepare for departure. Danny found himself in the docking bay, watching as Valanthi technicians worked alongside human engineers to load supplies. A familiar presence appeared beside him. "So," Ren said, "you are taking my sister to your world." "She chose to go," Danny pointed out. "She did." Ren was quiet for a moment, watching the activity below. "I still do not fully trust your species. You are strange and unpredictable, but my sister sees something in you that others do not. And I have learned, over many years, that her judgment is usually sound. Even when she was young, when everyone called her dim, Ren's patterns flickered with something that might have been regret. I should have defended her more. I was so focused on my own path, my own ambitions, I did not see how much she was hurting." He looked at Danny. "You saw it. In one moment, you saw what I missed for years. I just said what I felt. And that is exactly why humans terrify us," Ren said. "You feel things and you speak them, without calculation, without strategy. It is completely irrational." He paused. "It worked," Danny shrugged. "Sometimes irrational is the right choice." Ren almost smiled. Take care of her, Danny Cole. She is the best of us, even if we did not always recognize it. And if you hurt her. His patterns flared with warning. There is nowhere in the galaxy where you could hide from me. I know, Danny said. And I won't hurt her. That's a promise. Ren studied him for a long moment, then nodded. I believe you. Stars help me. But I do. He walked away without another word, disappearing into the crowd of workers. An hour later, the Wanderer was ready to depart. Danny stood at the observation window in the main corridor, watching Helix 9 grow smaller as the ship pulled away. So much had happened in such a short time. His whole life had changed because of one careless word. There you are. Valkyra appeared beside him, her patterns glowing soft purple. She was wearing a flowing garment in silver and blue, traditional Valanthi formal wear. But she had added a small human pin to her collar. A tiny Earth flag that Captain Bennett had given her. How does it feel? Danny asked. Leaving home? 10. Strange, she admitted. Exciting. Terrifying. She smiled. All the emotions your species is famous for, apparently. You're going to fit right in on Earth. I hope so. She moved closer to him. Close enough that their shoulders touched. Danny, I want to thank you. For everything. Before you came into my life, I had accepted that I would always be dim, that I would never shine the way others did. You changed that. You changed yourself, Danny said. I just reflected what was already there. She laughed softly. You and your words. You make everything sound so simple. It is simple. You're amazing. That's not complicated. Her patterns warmed, that deep purple spreading across her skin. She reached out and took his hand. Their fingers intertwining naturally now. Danny, she said. Say it again. He knew what she meant. He had known this moment was coming since the first time she asked. He turned to face her fully. In the soft light of the stars, she looked like something from a dream. Her patterns pulsed with her heartbeat, and her eyes reflected the infinite dark of space. You're gorgeous, Valkyra, he said. She smiled, bright and brilliant, and her glow intensified until she lit up the entire corridor. I know, she said, but I still enjoy hearing it. Then she did something that surprised him. She leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, a gesture she had learned from human cultural files. One that her people did not practice. The kiss was gentle, careful, two species meeting in a space that belonged to neither of them. And when they pulled apart, they were both glowing. Her with bioluminescence, him with simple human joy. Was that correct? She asked. I studied the technique, but I am not certain I executed it properly. Danny laughed. It was perfect. But maybe we should practice more. Just to be sure. I am a dedicated student, she said seriously. I believe in thorough practice. He kissed her again, and she kissed him back, and somewhere behind them, the engines of the Wanderer hummed as the ship jumped toward Earth. Later, as they sat together in the observation lounge, watching the stars streak past, Valkyra rested her head on Danny's shoulder. What happens now? She asked. I don't know, Danny admitted. There's going to be a lot of work. Diplomacy and negotiations and probably a million meetings. People will have questions. Some won't understand. And us? Us? Danny smiled and pulled her closer. We figure it out as we go. That's what humans do. We make it up as we go along. And hope for the best. That sounds terrifying. It is, but it's also kind of wonderful. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Besides, you're stuck with me now. Ambassador to human space. That means lots of time with your favorite clumsy engineer. Favorite? She tilted her head up to look at him. You are my only engineer. Even better. No competition. She laughed, and the sound filled the room with warmth. Outside the window, the galaxy spun on, ancient and endless. Wars would be fought. Empires would rise and fall. Species would meet and clash, and sometimes, against all odds, fall in love. But in that moment, none of that mattered. In that moment, There was only Danny and Valkyra, two people from different worlds, holding hands in the dark, watching the stars, and knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. And really, Danny thought, what more could anyone ask for? He had called an alien girl gorgeous by mistake, and it had turned out to be the best mistake of his entire life.